I said to you many times, I will say another million times, because you don't listen. Appreciate your parents. Nobody lived forever. The parents will live till 150. Ezrat Hashem healthy. Nobody has parents forever. We have a custom from the beginning of the yeshiva, is already part of yeshiva's schedule. One of the early alumni, one of the pillars, the founder of the yeshiva, together with us, and some other alumni, Richie and Anita Grossman. His father passed away, today is the Yortzeit. And for many years, from the beginning, he has a custom, one time he missed, I think so. He has a custom the day of the Yortzeit, he come to daven yeshiva, then we went to the cemetery, and now he's making seal. For me, it's very touch momentum, because I remember his father, Moshe Mordechai, Rabbi Yisrael Mendel. Very smart man, very humble man. A person, Moshe Mordechai, would you ever need the $1 million question? Why God gave him so many sickness, over 30 operations. I still remember he said a good line, it's never easy operation. You know when it's easy? When somebody else is sick. By you, it's never easy. And with all his sickness, together with his wife, Shetichie Elorech Yomim V'Shonim, he gave his son great education. I still remember when he learned in the old yeshiva, and his father came to visit him, he has to arrange for him, if I remember correct, the Aliza machine in Shaare Zedek. And really the devotion which he saw as Richie, and later when Richie got married, Anita and Richie gave to his father, is something that you don't see in the books. Because everybody said, I know you are young people, and I said, sure, I will take care of my father. In Yiddish you say, it's much easier to have 12 children, from 12 children to have one father, one mother. Much easier. When your parents get old and they need your help, remember some Fetzer Boldar Umbina told you this line. Whenever you think, you know, I'm not going to take care of my parents. I put them in a home, I have my life. Nothing like parents. Parents is equal to God. Therefore, written in Halacha, I remind everybody again, you cannot say to your father, Abba or Ima, you're right. You tell God, you're right. You got to fight with one of the alumni. Not this for Shabbos, Shabbos before, in Tinek in the Shabbaton. No, it's not Halacha like this in Shulchan Aruch. As you cannot say to your father, Abba, you're right, or for sure, Abba, you're wrong. Look, Shulchan Aruch, you're there. No question about this. I will let Richie to talk. I want to welcome also his in-laws, Baruch and Liba Borenstein. They have two grandsons in Yeshiva, Dovi and Eric, really very special people from where they grew up. The children in nowhere in South America, and send them to give them Jewish education, all the children full. You don't see it in too many families. And one son, I will call him, one son and daughter-in-law, stupid and positive way, did Aliyah. You don't see it in many, many places. You don't see it. I mean, it's something unique, something special. We'll let Eric and Richie to do seal. We'll say a few words. Maybe you listen to his words, you don't want to listen to my words. And then say seal, Kaddish, and then we'll daven in Mincha. Please.
I'll take a loud voice or use the microphone. Shusha Rabbeinu Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbeim, family, friends. Actually see an old friend over there, Aguilar, school together today. See him today is Lezeka Nishmas, Avi Mori, my father, Moshe Mordechai, Israel Mendel. First, I'd like to acknowledge and thank Hashem for giving me the opportunity to be here with my family, friends, commemoration on the earth side of my father. And the scene will be in Gemara Megillah. In Megillah it says on Tes Vav Amud Aleph on the bottom, it says Amar Rabbi Elazar, Amar Rabbi Chanina. Sadik Avad L'Doro Avad. If Sadik, if he dies, he's lost his generation. And they give a mashal. Mashal Adam Sha'avdal Lo Margalis, a person who lost a pearl. Kol Makom Shehi Margalis, wherever the Margalis is, Shema, it's there. Lo Ada El Bala. It continues to exist, the pearl, but it's lost to the owner. And there's also a saying called Zeker Olam Yeh Sadik. So I think what this is saying is that when a Sadik passes away, it says he's lost a generation, meaning that he's no longer there to give him protection and so forth. But in many ways, he does continue. And I think the perfect example for this is somebody like Rashi. The day that he passed away, his writing stopped. That was the day that people that were around him in his community or other communities, they couldn't answer any new questions. There's nothing new from him. But in many ways, he continues to live. He lives in every Chumash. He lives in every Gemara. He lives in every Beis Medrash. He lives in every Karusa. In a sense, he lives within us. Rashi continues to live within us, and he will always live within us. I had discussed learn from my father, who was nifter 11 years ago today. And in many ways, he continues to live within me. And my goal in the next few minutes is to talk a little about him, tell you why he lives within me, and maybe put a little bit of him in each and every one of you. First, I'll start a little bit just quickly with the history. My father was born on Yom Kippur, October 5th, 1938, in Germany. 5 weeks later was Kristallnacht, and that of the broken glass. When the Nazis marched them out, they went to the shuls, they went to houses, to businesses, broke the windows, started looting. And at that day also, they started taking the Jews away to the concentration camps. My grandfather was called down. And instead of coming down himself, he came down with his whole family. And God put these words into the Nazis' mouth. He told my grandfather, "It's late, come back tomorrow." My grandfather knew what that meant. And that night, they left Germany. My father was only 5 weeks old at that time. They traveled to about 6 or 7 countries in the next 3 years, finally arriving to the United States. My father was 3 years old. They had a clip in the newspaper, my mom still has it, which says, "Travel baby." But it wasn't in a positive sense, not traveling. He had one older sister who was 3 years old when they left, so she was 6 when they came to America. They discovered shortly afterwards that she had some severe mental problems. It could have been that she was born with it, or it could have been from all the trauma from running from country to country, trying to escape the Nazis, that could have caused this trauma from her. Anyway, as a result, my father had a very difficult childhood. Nobody should know what it is to have a sibling or family member that has mental issues, especially if they're severe. And as a result, my father couldn't have any friends at the house because she would get jealous. And it wasn't easy for him. And then eventually in 1965, he got married. I was born in 1967. And then in 1969, when he was only 30 years old, he found out that his kidneys didn't work anymore. Now, before the invention of dialysis, people just died. Your kidneys didn't work. There was nothing for you. Fortunately and unfortunately for my father, that the invention of dialysis was shortly before it was found out that his didn't work anymore. And I say fortunately because it gave him an opportunity to continue to live. Unfortunately, because he was one of the first people on dialysis. This was in 1969. He spent in the first year that he was sick, he spent over 200 days in the hospital and went through 7 operations because they didn't know exactly what to do. But thank God he overcame that. So Rabina mentioned he overcame many operations. If I stopped here to say that, as Rabina mentioned, somebody that suffered a lot. But that's what I'm here to talk about. That was his life. His life was how he lived despite the hardship that he had in his life. My father told me the story many times. I said it at his levaya, and I pretty much repeat it every year at his yahrzeit. And we had cousins who owned a bakery store. And they had a very successful bakery store. And then one day I should say, at a young age, the husband had a massive heart attack and he passed away. When people came into the bakery store afterwards and they saw the wife and they would ask her, "How you doing?" she would answer, "How can I be? It's so hard on me without my husband. It's very difficult." And she said this when people come in, and she realized over time less and less people were coming into the bakery. And she understood why. So one day she stopped complaining and she started telling jokes. When people come in, one joke after the other. Over time, people returned to the bakery. My father used to say that he had to enjoy today. Today was his healthiest day going forward. He knew that from the disease that he had, although he had dialysis that allowed him to live, but still nevertheless, it's not the same thing as having healthy kidneys. He knew that he was getting weaker over time. I remember one time, he had company on Mosei Shabbos, and he was feeling terrible. He had cramps, he wasn't feeling well. I thought maybe my parents would cancel the company, but they had it anyway. People came, they said to my father's name was Morris, they said, "Morris, how you doing?" And he said, "Doing very well." As if nothing was going on, as if he had a great day and he was doing well. And he spoke about everything and everything but himself. In fact, his entire life, my father never ever spoke about his health. He never complained to other people. He would speak about anything and everything but himself. As Rabina mentioned, he was blessed with tremendous wisdom. And therefore he had sort of like Jeopardy knowledge. Remember, we used to watch Jeopardy together, he used to answer most of the questions. He had that ability. And therefore when he met people, he spoke to everybody on their level. Somebody was into sports, spoke to them about sports. They loved talking about their job, spoke about their job. It was politics, he knew about politics. He had that ability to understand what people liked, what their hobbies were, and he had the knowledge to be able to converse with them. And I also remember another time when he had 5 hip operations, and he never fell once. Just because of the weakness that he had, the hips gave out. I remember one time he had one of his best friends, his daughter was getting married. And literally almost from the hospital, with a walker, he went to his friend's daughter's wedding. Because he went to Miss Amir, his good friend and the family as well. I remember also when he would go into shul, he treated everybody equally. It didn't matter if you were rich, you were poor, if you were considered important in shul or not, everybody got the same hello. And when he spoke to you, he was only speaking to you. He wasn't looking around to speak to other people as well. And I mentioned that he never spoke about his illness. It's really not true. There was one time that he mentioned it. That was at my bar mitzvah. People thought that he wouldn't make it to my bar mitzvah. And at my bar mitzvah, he got up there, he spoke, and he asked Hashem if he'd give me the opportunity to be at my wedding. Baruch Hashem, he made it to my wedding. I remember he was there, I gave him a chair, he was sitting under the chuppah. Rabina was Masada Kedushin. He went up to my father and said, "Would you like to say a few words?" My father took the microphone, and all he said was, he thanked Hashem for giving him the opportunity to be there that day. Then Hashem blessed him. He gave him another 9 years after that. He merited to see 3 of my kids, 3 out of the 4 of my children. He was descended for my second son, Yoni. I remember he was very weak at the time, and Rabina said that because he didn't have the strength to hold the baby, so he said you can have people holding each hand as he held the baby. And then he passed away shortly after that. He was on dialysis for 25 years. There's only one other person in this world who's ever on dialysis for that long, because it's not easy. When he first started, he was on dialysis for 10 to 12 hours at a time, twice a week. And it's hard to think about this way, but when he first started, they had no even reclining chairs. So everyone on dialysis, basically what it is, people don't know, I should take a step back. Basically, when your kidneys don't work, there's a machine that cleans out the toxins, the blood, the poisons from your kidneys to allow you to function. So you get connected to a machine, and it draws out the blood, and it cleans the blood through the machine, and then returns it back to you. So before they had a reclining chair, people had to basically be in a lying position for 10 hours at a time. And it wasn't easy, because sometimes he felt lousy. Sometimes he had cramps. I remember him sometimes having a cramp for 30 minutes, and they were extremely painful. I remember the agony that he was in. And then, I remember also, before dialysis, it was done at home. My mother put him on. And she would say to him, "Morris, are you ready?" And he'd always say, "No." But he would psych himself up. It just took about 30 minutes to get the mindset to be able to go on. And in 25 years, he never missed one treatment. Think of anybody who's for 25 years never taken a vacation from something. But he never took a vacation from it. He had that determination to live, to continue. And when he passed away, he was only 64 years old. But he had a body of somebody who was not just 94, but an old 94. Almost nothing worked. His hands were weak, he couldn't walk. And, but he had this thing around him, with like a chain, with like a machine, that God forbid, like if you fall, you probably heard about it, and you can't get up, they advertise on TV, and you push a button, and you call for help. Have to admit that my mother wasn't home at the time that either he had the heart attack or stroke, whatever he had, and right before he passed away, he pushed that button, crying out for help. I think the point is that he can say that he never gave up, despite all the hardships that he had, and he had that good attitude, and he never complained about his sickness, and that he took that effort every day to make it a good one. Everyone in this world is tested. We ask Hashem every day in davening, beginning of davening, not to test us, because we know how hard it is. We know Abraham, he went through 10 tests, and that's why he's Abraham. And my father also went through many tests, many struggles. He used to say that, thank God, he didn't know what it was to be in a concentration camp. In some ways, his mind was confined in the body. That was sort of put him in that position where he had that constraints, limited physical constraints. Some of us are tested physically, some of us are tested emotionally. You guys also are tested every day. You come to Yeshiva, you come to Seder, decide that day you want to put in the effort or not. I know you can't miss the Seder, I think that's the same thing, right? I know when I was here 28 years ago, my Rabbi used to stand at the door, making sure that we were all here. I'm sure that hasn't changed. But still, you have that challenge also. Are you going to make that, not a physical effort, but you're going to make that mental effort every day? Are you going to make the most of that day, or are you just going to blow it off? I think in conclusion, I would say, I think if my father was here today, and you asked him for a message, I think what he'd say is that, he'd say that, if you look to the right of you, maybe that person naturally just smarter than you, naturally gifted. Look to the person to the left, maybe that person just is gifted athletically. You just can't be like him. Maybe the person sitting in front of you just blessed with a beautiful voice. You heard me sing, you think that my son Eric is adopted. But he would say to you that everyone has their special qualities, their unique qualities. And he would say that your job is not to be jealous of that person to the right of you, or to the left of you, or in front of you. And in fact, incredibly, my father was never jealous of his friends that were healthy. He was jealous that he wanted to be like them, but he wasn't jealous of them. So he would conclude and say to you that everyone here has their special qualities, and that it's your job to find it and to make the most of it. And I believe that if each and every one of us makes the most of what we have, what God's given to us, then we will all merit to Zocher, be part of the coming Mashiach, and build the base of Mikdash. Here remain. Okay, the Siyam, as I mentioned, is in text Megillah. I'll conclude. The last part. By the Be'er Moshe Modeh Hashem of Bnei Israel. This is a pasuk found in Emor. Say it on all the Chagim. And Moshe said to declared the Chagim to Chagim of Hashem to Klal Yisrael. Mitzvason shehayu karin oson kol echad ve'echad bizmano. It's an obligation on each and every one of us to read the portion, so the portion of the Chag on its appropriate time, as we do today. Moshe tikem lahem Yisrael. Moshe agreed to Klal Yisrael shiyu shalim v'doshim v'anino shel yom, that they should inquire and to darshan, to expand upon the Chag of that day. So Chilkos Pesach b'Pesach, Chilkos Aseres b'Aseres, Aseres being Shavuos, Chilkos Chag b'Chag, and the Lachos of Sukkot on the day of Sukkot. Hajan Laka b'nei Ha'ir, V'Sukol La M'Sechus Megillah. Hajan Lach M'Sechus Megillah, Hajan Lach. Data Lach M'Sechus Megillah, Data Lan. Lo Nishisei Minach M'Sechus Megillah, Lo Nishisei Milan. Lo B'Alma Hadem, Lo B'Alma D'Osei. Yehiro Som B'Fan L'Osenu, Shehei Sotecha U'Nosenu B'Lam Hazeh, Seilan L'Lam Abba. Hanir B'Papa, Rami B'Papa, Nachman B'Papa, Achir B'Papa, Abba, Mari B'Papa, Rachman B'Papa, Raki B'Papa, Suk B'Papa, Ada B'Papa, Dar B'Papa. Rav Nalhino, Etirei Sofino, Fi Chavesvel, Ne, Nachman Senu, Say Al Chavesvel, Klono, Yedei, Shmekel, and Day, Oscha, Lishma. Yavai, Tichakimenu, Sotecha, Kilam, Hili. Hili Vitari, Techa, Laman, Lo Yivar. Lo Ishkach, Techa, Kibam, Nisana. Baruch Atfa Adonai, Imdenu, Potecha, Amen, 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 Silva Ed. מודים אנחנו ולפני נושאנו ששמת חלקנו משווה בייס המדרש ולא שמת חלקנו משווה קרנות. קרנות משכימים מהם משכימים. אנו משכימים לדברי תורה, הם משכימים לדברי בתלם. אנו מעלים מהם המלם. אנו מלם מחד מצווה, והם המלם אינם מחד מצווה. אנו רוצים והם רוצים. אנו רוצים לחיי העולם הבא, והם רוצים לבאר שחס. שמה אתה אלוהים כותבים לבאר שחס, אנשי דמים אומר לו יחסו ימיהם, אני אתה כבר. יהי רצון אלוסai Shem שעזרת לסיעה מסכת מגילה כן העזרנו לסגילה מסכת ספרים אחרים ולסיים ללמוד ולמד לשמוע לעשות חיים כל דברי תלמוד תורתך באהבה זכות כל התנאים האמורים תלמידי חכמים ללמוד לי וזרי שלא תלמוד התורה מפי ופי זרי עד עולם. תקיים בי והיא חלקתך תחנה עוסך ושכבך תשמע עליך ואתי סולך כי תיכך כי בי ירבה ימיך ויוסיפו לך שנות חיים ארך ימים וימינך ושמאלה עושר וחבא ונעוז המייתן נערך זמן והשלום. חי עומה ובגדי קרטב שלם ובשחלה חי וגאווה ומעטה והלחנה ורעה וערה והטובה החנה ישמעאל וצרי רמית שישה יזכו חפצי בקרי שחייכו ממכו וחייכו בית ישראל ועזות מקריב יברו אמן Bishallah, Bishanase, Bishana, Bishallah, Bisha, Rufu, Ilan, Kobe, Asali, Shotar, Ahmasa, Rama, Bimame. Israel, Abanam, Asami, Gehom, Asam, Gehom, Rakamad, Oski, Moraisa, Divasa, Dame, Sopawasa. Ela, Hokosh, Rama, Kina, Pisa, Rahamin, and everything. With the Hebrew, Him, Kanabi, Kadam, Abu Hon, Yarad, Yibru, Amen. Isam, Rabbi, Shemaya, the Chaim, Kobi, Kitab, Yibru, Amen. Let's number one, Allah, yes, Shalom, Kisra, Yibru, Amen.
Amen.